Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Gatekeepers. Tonight, my good friend Connell and I and a few other guests will be discussing dragon slaying in your tabletop role-playing games. Now, I've got a list of questions here that we'll start with as soon as a couple more people jump into the Guns N' Roses. That's funny. As soon as a couple more people jump in here, I just want to say hi to everybody in the chat. Malke, Max, of course, James L. How you doing, buddy? Can't wait to see you this weekend. See who else we have yakking here behind the scenes or in the chat. I think that's it. Did I mention you, Bruce?
You just did.
Okay, cool. Want to pull up the show on my other device.
Hopefully, Bruce, when he gets done eating his fabulous rice noodle meal, he will be joining us. Of course, those in chat that know where to find the link, you're more than welcome to come join us, because more the merrier, especially when it comes to great topics like dragon handling and how do you deal with dragons in your campaign. I know, Legion, where is Max? Where is Jade at? Where are you at, Max?
Where's Baron? Where's Kai?
It's 10 o'clock somewhere.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. I'm posting the link here again, just in case anybody just comes in the other way, which I usually have to do. How's it going, Arman? Good to see you again. Hope you guys are all having a great day, and I hope everybody saw the questions that I posted, so you can kind of follow along ahead of time, and give you time to type up your answers. I know sometimes the chat can go by, and your post can seem or feel irrelevant or get buried amongst the chat. I'm gonna try and keep up with it. I don't have my co-pilot with me, that being my son. He usually brings up the messages like I just did right there. Hopefully we won't get too buried with you guys' smart ass comments. But I wanted to kind of church up the show a little. That's what's up with the tie.
Well,
and
by the way, that is a nice tie.
I clearly never worn a tie. No, I can't button the shirt all the way, or I would talk like this all night. And since I'm a smoker, I don't want to rush that along any. DM James, if you want to pop in and join the show, I see no problem with that whatsoever. Although Lava Lord, you got to stay right where you are. Get your homework done.
So I got a softball size
Legoing while I listen. Oh, I am naked. I DM naked.
Aren't you naked?
Yeah, well, you can see the shirt and you can see the tie, but trust me, you don't want to see anything else. Hold on. Malke, I am so jealous. My son and I, we used to build Lego sets together when he was just a wee lad, and I missed it all the time. As a matter of fact, if you can barely see on the very tippy top shelf up there, there are scores of Lego boxes. We kept all the Lego boxes, instructions, and everything after he put everything together, knowing that we could just, put back the sets, out of his bins and put them back together if he ever wanted to make a fortune on eBay reselling his old Lego sets.
So I got a question for you, Shadow.
Sure.
What is your all-time dragon movie? It being
probably Dragon Slayer.
Dragon Slayer. That is an old movie. Wow. Okay. That is a good choice. I see. I was expecting you to say Sean Connery's Dragonheart for some odd reason.
Oh God, no! I hated those movies with a passion.
I mean, it had
I
a
don't know.
paladin of sorts.
Yeah, I just it was I just didn't like them
Eh.
for a whole host of reasons, but mostly the yeah, I really couldn't put my finger on it. I just didn't like them. I saw, I think, the first two, and
Oh, there's only
you
one
know,
movie. There's only
I
one
thought there was
Dragonheart. Although there's
really.
other ones. No, don't get me wrong. There are other ones, but there's only one that matters.
Oh, okay. Like, what the hell was I watching? Although
Yeah,
I did
that's
like
what
that
we're
movie
watching.
that came out a while ago, where the dragons came to life in modern times and started wreaking havoc. That one was kind of fun.
Oh, Reign of
Just
Fire.
was that what it was?
Yeah,
Just because it was what do you call it, a Godzilla-esque sort of movie.
post-apocalyptic. Oh God, we dug too deep.
Right. To be honest though, I don't think anyone's done a dragon movie properly, in my opinion. It
Uh, there's a lot of dragon movies out there.
yeah, there are, but I just
No, I get it. To each their own. I'm trying to think of a dragon movie I actually really like. I mean, my favorite as a kid was Pete the Dragon. But I
Pete's
don't think
Dragon. Yeah, I remember that. I also remember seeing him in the Disneyland Electric Light Parade thing. That was a big deal as a kid, and I enjoyed that. But
trying to think of any.
that was a long. As a matter of fact, I think it was supposed to be the very last um, Electric Light Parade, and what that meant was they were just going to make a new one the very next week or month or something. And I'm like, okay, so everybody lies, even Disney lies. As a kid, it was like, oh wow, nothing is sacred. I see.
I can name a few movies I was disappointed with, and shows I was disappointed with that supposedly had dragons in it. No, I think my favorite up to date, my favorite dragon movie would probably have to be Reign of Fire. But if I'm remembering correctly, those weren't dragons. I mean, not the stereotypical dragons, I should say. They were wyverns.
Okay.
Because to me, a dragon has 4 legs. Well, like this guy.
Yeah.
4 legs and wings. That's a dragon. That's the most Western European
Come on
version.
down. You're the next contestant. What the heck? Oh, there he is. I was like, what the hell?
Howdy.
It actually looked like something. It was hard for me to understand what I was seeing. The white and the black there. I was like, what the heck is that?
Sorry, I'm looking for my monster manuals.
Gotcha. And we got Bruce.
All right.
And I'll go another 2 minutes, and then we'll start with the questions. Just want to say hey to everybody. Appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedules. I don't know if you saw my video last night, Jade. I just got not brand new, but an additional copy of the original Monster Manual, the first edition AD&D. That's much nicer than my first print from back in the 80s. No, excuse me, the 70s. I also got my book from Max and Palladium Books. So Max, if you're in there, thank you again. I hope you watch my mailbag episode so you can see the nice little art that they added to it, the autographs, etc. It was really kind of a big deal for me. My family's like, what's the big deal? They sent you a free book. I'm like, no, it's autographed, personalized. It didn't say To Shadow and Sun, which I was kind of, I'll meet Kevin later on. I'll just force him to write To Shadow and Sun in there later. But I want my son to later on in life be able to open up those books and go, oh yeah, I can't get rid of this. This is really kind of special.
Sorry, guys. I had to rearrange my bedroom. We had a leak spring up in the first of the 10 days of deluge of San Antonio, 2022.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Don't worry about it.
It sucked ass. Apparently, you have a futon because it weighs 200 pounds.
No. I got a purple mattress.
Oh, okay.
Those are
they're high dollar. This one cost me about $1,500. It's still cheaper than my sleep number that I had, which was $3K, and bullshit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, I take sleep really seriously.
Yeah, wait till you get my age, and then you will. Naps will be your favorite thing in the world.
Dude, wait. I'm 47. Naps are already my favorite thing in the whole world, aside from boobies.
Okay.
Full ripe boobies, not sagging. I need a best friend that does plastic surgery. Hit me up, brother. Hey, James L., I appreciate you, man. I really do. I just didn't want to piss you off because I value you and I value a lot of other people that are long-term viewers. If I fuck up, man, I fuck up, and I own up to it. But I don't want to. You guys banter, but it was getting on a bit edgy last time. Paradoxically, people I agree with, I felt piling on a bit. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I don't agree with the one D&D thing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, I put in my 2 cents, basically being 2 words: planned obsolescence, and I'm done.
Yeah,
if that doesn't. And I'm still playing first edition. My books still work. There's nothing wrong with them. My players don't complain. And there's a lot of people out there that still like that game. A lot of people, more people probably, that like the newer versions. But there's nothing wrong with any of them. If you're having fun, who cares? My son and his friend his friends have played 2 games of what I'm assuming to be 5th edition over the last 2 Tuesdays. I was up here with Bloodworth. Playing AD&D online. I could hear the kids downstairs, laughing and giggling and carrying on. That's all that matters. Music to my ears, knowing that there's kids downstairs playing D&D. I don't care what version it is. As long as they're trying to kill some dragons or orcs or something, and, that's all that matters. Right, James? Just pick your game, have your fun, and hey, Jade, you're here. That's weird how that works.
We should, from time to time, I think we should be pricky with each other. We really, if not, it turns into a love fest, and I don't want a fucking echo chamber. I want you guys to have your own opinions, and I understand not everybody feels the same way as I do, which you're wrong, but okay, whatever. But we don't have to agree on every fucking thing.
Big love to you too, James.
And the thing is
that James is one of the biggest hearts out there. I'm glad you showed up, buddy, and I cannot wait to hang out with you this weekend, if not sooner. So I'm going to let it go another 2 minutes, and then we'll start on with the questions. I hope everybody gave them a good read. And we're probably only going to make it through the first 6, and that'll give people time to, if they want to add some questions for next week, I'm good with that.
So I'm going to ask you this real quick, Shadow. You want to run this dragon slaying for about 2 to 3 weeks? I'm not trying
easily.
to. Okay. Yeah. Because in all honesty, like, I as a DM, I don't like to run dragons that much. I like him being something that's a special situation.
Yep.
I don't want it to be. There was a basic edition box set back in the day for Thunder Rift where you fought 3 dragons, 3 of the chromatic dragons at the end of every module, and it started level 3 to level 5, and it was a fun little module, but at the time we were playing it, the level 5 module had you fight against basically a medium-sized red dragon. And you were supposed to feel like big damn heroes at the end of it, but the players didn't really do the epic shit that I felt was necessary for a campaign where you killed fucking dragons. And it it cheapened it. So
that's why I wanted to comment. I guess I'll do it now. Max likes to show off that picture from, I think it's 2nd edition, of the player characters who've killed and hung up a baby dragon.
Yep.
Yeah, to me that's I don't like that for a multitude of reasons. A lot of what you just mentioned, that couldn't have been much of a threat. Mind you, I get it if people didn't have hit points and just had regular body points or whatever like we do in real life, sure. But knowing in a fantasy game that any two of the players had more hit points than the baby dragon itself just made it feel like kind of like a fox hunt of a whole bunch of big overpowered individuals chasing down this terrified poor innocent little critter that really couldn't have done all that much damage in 100 lifetimes, let alone deserve the untimely end it would eventually see. Yes, I know it would grow big and bad and ugly, but as I'll show later on in the questions, how I feel that to be dealt with. Nice, that looks like mine. That's entirely what I go by. Yeah, I mean, I use the 2nd edition stuff as well because it's the same thing. But let's get on with the questions. I'm going to start with number 1. I'm going to go. It'll be Connell, Jade, then Bruce, and then the next time it'll be reverse order, etc. So everybody has kind of an idea of how much time they have. If you guys need to, take a bio break or something like that, you know how to mute and kill the camera.
If you see my hands drop the figure in the brush, it's a bio break. If it goes on mute, it's a bio break. But I'll be here.
All right. So the first question.
When should player characters start encountering dragons, and what type of encounters should they be?
I think since I'm the only 5th edition player here that I know of, I will answer from 5th edition point of view. Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
I think roughly around 5th level, they should see their first, not large dragon by no stretch of the imagination, large, but their first medium dragon. Because with 5th edition, the players start to kick off. They're starting to get their second special ability. They're a little bit more beefier than there was from 1 through 5. And if they work together, there's no reason why they could not take out a medium or maybe a large dragon if they do it right. Now, the where and when, it just really depends on the campaign setting. If they're up, north, it should be a white dragon. If they're in a swamp, it should be a black dragon, so forth and so on. So that's my answer. I just really think 5th level is a good starting place to see your first medium, maybe a large dragon.
Okay, Jade.
Yeah, so for me, my players won't actually encounter a true dragon until probably around level 10, maybe, and I'm talking D&D 3.5 edition, because that's where I have the bulk of my experiences as a player and as a game master. So around level 10, they might encounter their first young wormling, and it's not going to go the way they might think it does. If they killed that wormling, they're going to have a lot more problems. Like, they might display it as a trophy. Okay, cool. Yeah, you killed the dragon that was, that couldn't fight back. Good job. Big damn heroes you are. Now Mama's angry. So I like to, like I said, introduce them around level 10, but I don't use the classic chromatic dragons. No, though these guys, I prefer the more bestial, god-slaying dragons from Iron Kingdoms.
Oh, boring. Okay.
But I don't prefer this book or even this book. I prefer the original printed 3.0 edition where they're a challenge rating 60. So my dragon encounters start at level 10, and you might fight the biggest, baddest one by the time you're level 40. And it's going to be a slog.
It should be a slog. And I know those dragons, damn it.
Bruce?
Okay. For my games, I really don't even like putting dragons out there. I'm not even gonna lie. It all depends on what type of game you guys are playing. Like, if for some of you, like wonderful grognards, and for those of you that play in a game similar to the narratives of Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders of Pern, I really salute you, because that was like one of the first attempts I ever read where somebody tried to give the dragons a little bit more initiative than just hoard gold and be absolute dicks and burp up on like various breath weapons on various heroes. So if you guys are playing that, great. For the rest of us plebes, I don't really want to have a dragon pop up and play till at least 8th level. For about the same reasons that Jade already mentioned, because yeah, you might have killed a wormling or a small dragon, but that little shit has been around for a while, a few seasons, destabilizing the nature of the region. He's made farmers upset. He's destroyed cattle herds. He's probably done a lot of really bad civilization destroying efforts. And by 8th level, the player characters are starting to feel like they have started to evolve past that I'm a farmer or I'm the son of a blacksmith. And they are actually getting their own name, and people are recognizing them in and out of town. So, or people know of them before they arrive in town. And so about 8th level is when I would prefer for most players to have their first encounter with the dragon. Now, I'm not saying they're going to attack a wormling and be the proud damn heroes on page 9 of the 2nd edition AD&D book, which I do appreciate that picture. I really do. Unlike a lot of my contemporaries, I think that's a great picture. But at the same time, at 8th level, you're not bumping into a little wussy dragon. Like in Slumbering Czar, the guardian to the city is a big CR12 tar dragon, which belches out an acidic mixture of tar and adhesive that roots players in place and gives them fear of the feet sunder. Because after it puts you there and you start having your arms get withered under the acidic damage of whatever breath weapon concoction he's got, he comes up to you and bites your weapon in half or destroys your bow. And I think that is an important thing. You need to give not an opportunity for players to be big damn heroes, but at 8th to 10th level, you need to be a DM and completely show your players it's all right to feel scared and run the fuck away. Teleport! Teleport! God damn it! Malachi, get us on a teleport!
I mean,
I want the
Beam
players.
me the fuck out of here, Scotty.
he's not wrong.
I want the players to fucking have their assholes pucker when we're playing a game. And no matter what level you are, level 8, level 40, level 80. I want you at some point to recognize you're not the biggest and baddest in the world, which is why I do appreciate giving the players some time in their alter ego skins. Give them about a year and a half of just doing things like we killed a demonologist, or we saved a town, we killed a bunch of rats in the basement. Give them encounters like that. And then let them see a dragon fly by one time and snatch a cow, one of their prize cows, right there in front of them. And Dungeon Masters, make the players fear for their life at that moment the dragon is swooping down within 20 feet as he belches just a cone of fire onto the party in their wagon, and then he grabs a prize cow out of the pasture and swoops off to go feed his mate. Make him roll that saving throw, make him fail it. Dude, your buddy caught fire. It's a DC 27. You saw Timmy combust. Your cohort, the guy that you pay for his existence. He is now looking like a Soviet cosmonaut, the first that came back charred beyond belief. I want the players to respect the dragons. And I don't feel that the first encounter should be a situation like on page 9.
That's fair.
I don't mean to eat up so much of your time there, Shadow. Thank you.
No. That's okay. I was looking for something.
I think it depends on. I think it really depends on the engine. Not engine. What system you are running for it to be a fantasy-based or sci-fi. When the dragon should show up, because certain systems set the players off to be big damn heroes at level 1, compared to, let's say, to Max's one of Max's favorite editions, Earth Dawn, where you are farmer to hero, where it's a slower drag. So I think it really just depends on the system you're running for when the character should bounce into their first.
I disagree. I'll go with that on after you talk, Colin. Go ahead, man.
But other than that, I can see where Pathfinder, yes, 10th level would be great. 10th level, upon 10th level, earlier editions, whenever. But fifth, like I said, with 5th edition, it's a different creature than other editions before that. So I can drop a medium-sized dragon in and not too much worry about the party, as long as I have what Shao would say, the 4 basic food groups.
Okay, just to throw some perspective from my point of view, I play mostly AD&D first, and I was looking at 2nd edition, and there, when it comes to dragons, and there's not a big difference when it comes to a simple fact of hit points. In AD&D 1st edition, dragons had hit dice. Their age category would determine how many hit points they had. A young or baby dragon would have 1 hit point per hit die. So a baby red dragon would have 9 to 11 hit points. There is no party of first levelers that could not take that out and survive with relative ease, unless, of course, the players all had like less than 5 hit points each. And the first time the baby dragon burped, 2 of them were incinerated.
They're all bards, just a pile of bards.
Okay.
Wait, 1st edition
So
bard? Fuck you, they got 70 hit points.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Okay. Yeah, the maximum hit points you're going to come across on a dragon in AD&D for an ancient red dragon is 88 hit points. Okay?
Shit. I have that now.
Right. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't a lot. The numbers are vastly different from 1st and 2nd edition to every other edition that came later on. I was looking at my son's character sheet from his 1st level. I believe it's 5th edition. He made him just a fighter, and that fighter has like 27 hit points, I think. And now maybe he may have done something wrong in the process, or that may not be average hit points for a first level.
That's a bit high for 1st level, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay, well, in a first level fighter in AD&D, maximum hit points would be 14. Now, that's not likely to happen very often, but it could. Okay, so going down the age categories, very young has 1 hit point per die, 2, 3. There's 8 age categories, so you can do the math. That an adult dragon would have 5 hit points per hit die, at a maximum of 55 hit points for the maximum adult red dragon. That's not a lot compared to the hit points in a 5th or 6th level party. They would outnumber him in hit points 3-4 times over in a party of, let's say, 5 or 6. You knock it down to 4, that's a little bit more of a challenge. But again, back in the old days, you could roll. I mean, you had to roll. You never got maximum hit points, and the most you would get would be +4 or 2, depending on your con, for hit point bonuses per level. Yes, the dragons do breathe out their entire hit points in breath weapons. So an ancient red dragon would do a breath weapon of 88 points of damage. Save, you take half, and he can only do that 3 times a day. So unless the dragon is just going to breathe as all of his, major actions for his first 3 rounds, the players are going to run in and just, destroy it, unless, of course, it takes to the air, which, as we'll get to later in combat, that should be the case. Now, in later editions, you guys are going to have to help me out because I have no idea. But from what I've seen so far, having played in Bruce's Pathfinder game, we did take out a pretty beefy dragon. Seemed to have, something like 300 hit points. Maybe I'm off a little, but
the huge red.
Right.
Was that huge?
You see, they don't even go by. They don't even use the same designations that we in AD&D and 2nd edition. It was by age, not size. Size was assumed because of age. So an ancient would probably be a gargantuan or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But for my answer to the first question, the answer would be when they are ready. Pretty simple. When they are ready. Going by what challenge, what kind of a challenge it would be. I don't want them to just walk through it and think that, we can just start hunting them down like foxes, and everywhere we go it's just going to be a cakewalk, because it shouldn't. Dragons also have the ability to have spells, additional attacks, etc., which we're going to head on into the next question, which is, how do you personalize your dragons? Bruce?
Usually, I'll give my dragons a personality based on what color they are. The one you guys fought in my game was actually a large dragon. He only had 170 hit points, but he had full spells like False Life and Regenerate on him. And so that was giving him a little bit extra oomph, which prolonged him for an extra 100 hit points. And you guys being 6 players strong and a few NPCs, you do what you do. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to complain about it because he was part of the campaign as it was written, and I've modified that campaign pretty heavily, but I wanted him to be there because there would be a potential part where he would be the one to actually breathe fire on the altar of Prometheus, which would have started the entire shebang, and you guys would have been like, oh, God, what's that? Oh, there's a bunch of giants coming down here. But the dragons, I personalize them by basically whenever I have a dragon in my game, those are more rare than me creating just a various NPC. So I will go through and I have an idea of what their purpose is, and I will sculpt each one with various feats and such out of the various resources I have. I don't take the ones directly out of the Draconomicon or especially the Monstrous Manual. Those are really blasé, boring-ass dragons. No offense, but they're boring. And I want a dragon to be one of those nemesises that you guys have to deal with over the course of 10 or 15 hours of your life. I want there to be multiple encounters where you have to figure out how to protect yourself from their breath weapon. How do you not get ambushed whenever a Underdark dragon finds you in a cavern somewhere and you realize its long, snaky body is perfect for maneuvering around, coiling around with your favorite fighter, choking them to death, and then breathing large amounts of negative energy on your favorite magician. I want the players to fear the dragons. I don't want them to be overtly overpowered, but I do create the dragons individually. I give them names. I will watch bad movies and find some catchphrase that a bad guy takes, and I will usually use that in a dragon's verbal banter with the party. And you guys will figure it out later as to where I caught that dragon's catchphrase from. But I feel that the dragons should be something that should be a protracted conflict. Like, unless you're fighting baby dragons all day, I'm a level 7 hero. I found myself a dragon that was 13 foot long, and he was almost ready to use his breath weapon. If you're just doing that for the lulz, that's great, as long as you and your DM are having fun. But for me, the use of dragons is to absolutely terrify the players, make them respect the game, make them respect the table, make them value their friends that are sitting next to them to protect their ass. That's what dragons should do. Go ahead.
Okay, real quick, I want to address what Max said right here. The math is a little wrong. I know you corrected kind of it later, but I recommend you to page 64 of the original 2nd edition monster manual. They don't actually get that many hit dice depending on their age. Green dragon, a baby green dragon, you got that right, would have only 7 hit dice, but the next age category up would have 9 hit dice. And unless you're rolling a D10, I think it would be a D8 on average, being roughly a 4, maybe a 5, depending on how your math works. I'm going to go with the 4. Still not a lot of hit points. And yes, it still would be a challenge for a low-level party, but I think there's a lot better monsters to throw at the party to make it a real challenge. I know dragon, especially evil dragons, would probably kick their baby dragons out as soon as they're hatched, let them fend for themselves. But I give them the benefit of the doubt of intelligence, and therefore, letting their baby dragons go out and get killed within a couple of miles of home is probably only going to alert people that, hey, the dragon's lair is not too far off because this is a baby dragon. Let's look around, use some magic, find the lair, and and begin the slaughter. I would keep my baby dragons at home for many, many years until they got up in some categories. Even the evil dragons, my evil dragons, are going to teach their children to learn some spells and to not get killed immediately because they walked outside the cave, fell down into the forest below, and got eaten by an owlbear. Yes, I know they can fly and run away, but really, what's a baby or young, even juvenile dragon going to do to survive in the wilds against all the other creatures out there that would just go, dragon? So for me, I'm going to keep the dragons close to home. Despite the fact that they're evil, doesn't mean they're going to be like crocodiles and eat their babies. Maybe the male dragons might, but I think, what I'm trying to do here is to make the dragons more of just something more memorable than just another wandering monster that they, stomped on with, okay, maybe some effort, but I'm trying to make them more unique and more worthy of the title dragon. Jade?
Okay, so a few things. So I have a screen share. I don't know if you're able to activate the screen share from your side.
Yep.
So if you activate that real quick. So these are the first things I throw, and those are called dragon spawn. They're basically blighted humanoids who, through the corruption of these ancient dragons, have turned. And that, that's the size comparison of my dragons that I use on a regular basis. I'll have more images later, but just to give you a kind of a size comparison as to level 10, level 20 to level 40. Wanted to kind of get that out of the way pretty early right there. Let me stop sharing there. So my my dragons are conniving. They're on average, a dragon's intelligence is 4 to 6 times greater than the average human. And I gave this guy an encounter that should have TPK'd an entire party of 12th level, but was still technically within their challenge rating. I gave him an encounter where the mama dragon put out a word to a local civilization of where her brood was located. She put it on a message board, basically saying brood of dragons. She was weeding out her weaklings, so she knew, who, because this was a fuck off evil dragon. So she was basically weeding out all her weak wormlings that she knew couldn't make it. So, bandit adventurers come in. 2 things. The layer is filled with a doldrum of just negative energy because it was a shadow dragon. It was a negative energy dragon. So 1, they're suffering hit point loss the entire time. They're fighting the wormlings. And finally, when they get done, down to like the last 1 or 2, Mama shows up and goes, "Oh yeah, that was just a test. Bye," and breath weapons them until they leave. So my dragons are ungodly, hyper intelligent. They lay traps. They know the movements of some of the bigger beings in the kingdoms or the regions they're at. They're not going to just sit idly by and get curb stomped by adventurers. My dragons, they watch. They know things. They have connections. Whether they're evil or good. The good dragons are trying to get an edge on the evil dragons. The evil dragons are, trying to outmaneuver the good dragons. It's all kind of a game of cat and mouse or chess with the dragons. They'll use humanity and elves and dwarves to their ultimate end goal or game. I take it he probably has some internet issues. So my dragons are crafty, very, very crafty at all times. They might tell you something, but that's not their actual goal. What they tell you is a half truth at best to get you moving in the direction they want you to be in. Because again, my final fight with the dragon won't happen till far, far down the road when they finally realized, oh, we've been working for an evil dragon this entire time. What do we do now? We know this because dragons are ancient. They're old. They didn't just, learn history. They lived history. They were or are history at that point. So to a dragon, humanoids are just a blip on the radar. You're not going to be able to outcraft a dragon. Good luck, and you just won't do it. Not unless you're on equal age and or power level with them. So my dragons, good luck. Connell, to you.
Oh no, I was just thinking about what you said. I'm like, no, you shouldn't be able to outcraft one. But every once in a while, if the dice are dice with you, you can outbluff one.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've only done it once. I've only seen it done once. So that being said, when it comes to personality for the dragons, I kind of picture where they're at. If especially the species. If it's a red dragon, it's going to be a little bit more craftier, but twice as mean. If it's a white dragon, it's not going to be stupid, but it's going to be like high school bully. It just, he wants what you have. He's going to take what you have, and he doesn't care how it comes about. Where a black dragon in a swamp normally just wants to be left alone, and a blue dragon normally wants to rule, everything. That's normally how I do it. But I also look at the module and how they describe what the dragon is, where it's at. Then from there, I kind of do what Bruce does and make sure what Jay just said. I pick out personality for said dragon, and I just work it in. If the module says the dragon takes 3 big hits and it flies away, then in my mind, it's a glass cannon dragon. He's all talk. Or if it's a dragon, if the module says he's there until he dies, then he's going to be a brute. He's going to be in their face the entire time. and that's normally how I personalize my dragons, just by the area and basically what the module says, or if it's a homebrew, a variation of what Jade and Bruce said.
Okay, for my answer, I guess I do the voice thing like Bruce does. I try to give them a rumbly voice. Mind you, I only have one rumbly voice, so my dragons are going to sound a bit the same, but for the most part, they're only going to run into one big bad dragon that can speak, and that's going to be the one to end their adventuring career. I also like to give them spells. Mind you, I use spells from other sources, including Arduin, which has a really nice section of dragon magic. I'm sure somebody else has come out with that same theme since then, but it wasn't, as far as I know, in AD&D or second edition. And these are spells that give them a decided advantage and something that a dragon would definitely have hanging around them, as in the air hanging of spells. I don't know if you're familiar with that concept, but they would have magic upon them at just about any waking moment. I also like to give my dragons magic items that assist in ways that their abilities and magic can't. I might give them a ring of regeneration type device or something else to give them some new quirk that totally throws the players for a loop. Like a dragon with a spell turning ring. That's going to blow their minds. They're going to be like, crap, our wizards are just about useless in this situation, or somewhat less effective depending on the percentage of the spell that gets bounced back at them, as well as other magic items. Often, sometimes my dragons will go into combat with the biggest, ugliest magical two-handed sword in one hand, and they're going to use whatever's in their hoard. They know every piece of treasure like the back of their hand. They're going to use them. If they have javelins of lightning or piercing, that's going to be one of the first things out of their mouth, is the command word that launches them at the intruders into their lair. Mind you, all of these situations are assuming that you're meeting the dragon in its lair. Now, if you were to meet a dragon outdoors, it's going to breathe on you and fly on by, and that's it. You just took a bunch of damage, and the dragon just kept on going. Good luck catching it. And I will throw in sometimes some unusual habits. The desire to have princesses in their collection, things like that. Maybe they're big on books, not just spell books, but maybe they go into libraries, polymorphed, and steal books and things like that. Just some sort of weird personal quirk that allows them to sort of put a little bit more personality into their heads, that they can remember this dragon for some other reason besides just being big, scaly, and pissed off. Now, for my third question, I know this is probably going to be a quick one, but I was just curious as to how you guys do this. Again, I'm going to start this time with Jade, then Connell, then Bruce, and then we'll figure out a new order of questions. Do you have the players encounter various types of dragons, like black, blue, red, or do you just focus on one color for your campaign?
So that depends on how long the game is.
Right.
So again, I'm using Iron Kingdom's dragons, as my big bads. Now, that doesn't say I don't have the chromatic or metallic dragons. They might run across some of the good aligned, the metallic dragons that are kind of working in the shadows and aiding them, but they won't know because they're under polymorph spell. They're not going to reveal themselves as dragons unless things go sideways epically. So when my players are like, man, this is a difficult one to answer because I've done it a few different ways. Typically, I will use one, maybe two different dragon types at a time. and one of those being red was the one that stands out the most in my mind. They were hunting a Chardalon. They didn't realize it was a Chardalon until they basically got into the positive energy plane, or maybe it was like a little bit before that they got into the positive energy plane and realized, oh, this is not just an ancient red dragon. This thing is older than most other ancient red dragons. It could be one of the first. And that fight did not go well for them. But they had hints along the way about some of the other dragons because they went to the Isle of Dragons, the home city of Dragonkind. So they met a lot of other dragons in that city. It was actually ruled by the son of Bahamut. This is homebrew world. So the son of Bahamut is, well, a platinum dragon. So, I mean, there are a multitude of ways to introduce them to the different varying dragon kinds. Now, they also I believe they did meet a blue dragon on the street of Keo as well, but they didn't immediately draw weapons because they knew that they were going to be the ones in the wrong because they're in the dragon city, the capital of Dragonkind. If they were to draw weapons, they'd have been a greasy smudge on the ground afterward. Because every dragon would have been like, yeah, no, you're done. He remembers that. He was in that game.
I survived.
So yeah, I barely.
I only had to shoot myself in the head for it.
So I will use multiple different types of dragons, but they have different purposes. They exist for different reasons. Blues want to control everything in their own way. Reds, well, reds are reds are red. Let's just leave it at that one. But my metallic dragons, they have their goals. Now, to a human, their goals are alien, because a human only lives like maybe. That's one of the final dragons that they would face. This is a challenge rating 66 out of Iron Kingdoms. It doesn't use magic as you might think. It gets extra actions per round instead of using just simple magic. That's just one of the things I'll throw at my party. But again, that's very late game. My dragons run the gamut. They really do. I'll use whatever kind of fits at that time. If they're in a desert, it's a blue. A swamp is probably a black or a green. It really depends on the where they're at. So,
Connell?
I'll use I'll do a smattering of different dragons, as Jade put it. My party deals with a silver dragon and not knowing it's a silver dragon right now, because of polymorph. But they've gone against, shadow dragons as of right now. They've gone against, I think, just a shadow dragon. They're about ready to go take on a red dragon up in the hills working with the giants, and a blue dragon later on that I know of. So yeah, I'll use a mixture of dragons in the campaign. Hell, the title is Dungeons and Dragons. Eventually there has to be some dragons in your story. I guess not. But yeah, I'll basically use what dragons are appropriate for the area if I want to use dragons. Sometimes I won't use dragons. I'll use dragon, not spawns, where those not dragonborn, half dragons that are basically told by one of their parents to go hunt the party down, or some variation of that one, the lackeys of the main dragons. But yeah, to answer your question, I do all types are welcome, as long as I can find use for them. There's nothing like sending painting a Force Dragon Gold and pissing off a red dragon, right there, Jade?
The only reason that party survived the encounter with the Force Dragon was because they convinced it that it was going to be a very funny idea to paint itself gold, set up a wall of force, and fly through it with a red dragon chasing it because it had stolen part of its hoard. That was the only reason that party survived, was because they enriched the Force Dragon. And when the snot smear, when the red dragon hit the wall of force at full force of flying, you kind of broke its neck. Like, that's the only reason they survived, is because the Force Dragon got to claim the red dragon's hoard.
That's hysterical.
Well, I mean, Force Dragons are unaffected by force effects and/or spells, so it can fly through the force wall of force with no problem.
Yeah, I thought I'd heard all the dragon types, but I'm learning quite a bit, including the fact that I'm comparing, first and second edition AD&D, and there are actually quite a bunch of changes that I must not have kept in my brain. I know I've read these books multiple times, but I always go back to the first thing, which is AD&D, not second edition. But the differences are incredibly significant when it comes to attack capabilities, damage, hit points, etc. Basically, I think it would be safe to say that they're 25 to 30, maybe even 40% stronger numerically than original AD&D monsters. And original AD&D monsters they'd always been, in my opinion, rather weak. That's why, as you may have noticed in some of the other questions I asked about improving those numbers, because, all too often in my earliest of dungeon mastering, I watched players walk through what I thought would be relatively difficult combats because the numbers just weren't backed up in the original book, especially once the Unearthed Arcana allowed for weapon specialization. It was shortly thereafter that I had to change a lot of things, because suddenly allowing the players to get from +1 to +3 to attack and up to +3 damage and an additional attack meant that the entire monster manual needed an overhaul, which I guess is kind of why second edition came out, because that one rule alone drastically changed everything. So, Bruce, question number 3. Do you have the players encounter various types, or just one color and you stick with it?
Oh, like a few here and there, maybe 3 over the course of a campaign, but I don't want to get more variable than that, because dragons are special. You bump into a dragon, he should be as unique as a Gary Oldman character in a 90s movie.
Right.
All right.
And I totally agree.
And I mean, I have it open. This is a book of templates. So for those of you that are in Pathfinder, Green Ronin put out a really good book called Advanced Bestiary, and they have something called Instrument of the Gods, which you don't really want to fuck with. They actually have the character, the individual statted up here, but you can convert a dragon to this template and enjoy the player's assholes slamming shut as they go, nope, 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 and run the other way.
Hey, Bruce, is it Saturday yet?
You guys always ask me that joyous question. Do you want it to be Saturday? That's my response.
Yeah, considering I won't be here next Saturday.
Oh, what a dick move!
Hey, it's my birthday. I'm gonna go camping.
Okay, let me get this straight. You'd rather never mind.
You'd rather go pretend homeless than play our game. Yes.
Hang out with a bunch of people that I haven't
Priorities.
seen in 30
Yeah.
years.
Hey, unless a woman's involved,
Well,
I don't know, man.
You don't know me that well.
James L.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to answer that one.
is about 2 weeks younger than Gary Newman, whom Shadow's evoking with his Kraftwerkian ensemble. That's a fucking compliment. I fucking love Gary Newman. Here in
Me too. Yep.
Yeah.
Jade,
Yep.
were you going to say
He
there's
had other
always a
good
woman
songs,
you
by the
love?
way. He had other good songs.
He
That
has
wasn't the only one.
He has an amazing song list. But if I sing Cars, you guys will automatically go, okay, Bruce knows Gary Newman.
Yeah, and if you don't, you now have a homework assignment.
Yeah, Metal is actually my favorite song he did, but that's just me.
All right. What is
Okay, so was that it for you, Bruce?
Yeah, I want the dragons to have a real personality to them. I would prefer if during the game, like you have your 10 or 15 encounters where the players have to go do mundane things like solve traps or interact with commoners or talk to the mayor's son or find out where the cavern to the Tomb of Horrors is. Just simple things. But 1 in 30 encounters, I really would prefer. I know this sounds like I'm a narcissist. Okay. So I want to overact as a bad guy in PC. I want to overact like Ceres off of Galaxy Quest. I want to pull off a Gary Oldman. I want to completely give you guys a reason to fucking hate the pile of hit points in front of you. I want you guys to hate the bad guys that deserve to be hated. It's a simple narrative thing. The bad guys should be dirt. They should be absolute evil. And you should be shining paragons of virtue that have a purpose now that you've met this individual.
Okay, well, for my answer, it's pretty much the same as just about everybody. I think we can all agree that too many dragons lessens their uniqueness and makes them just another lizard to be stepped on as they trundle through their adventures. But I do occasionally throw in a couple of quirks, like, for example, I was having a discussion with someone recently. Prior to the Gygaxian method of dragons, most dragons were green and breathed fire. So what I often do is I mix up that whole nonsense, and you may run into a green dragon that breathes fire, and the players are just waiting, holding their breath, waiting for it to spew some sort of chlorine gas that's never going to come. My ice dragons are usually white, sometimes blue though. So the whole idea that only red dragons breathe fire and that sort of nonsense, I try to do away with. I do kind of like the idea of dragons being green, like in the old days. Blue always shooting out lightning, and green and black and that sort of thing just seems a little sort of superhero-y or cartoony to me, and always has. That doesn't mean to say that I'm not going to throw a black dragon in to the mix, and he may or may not breathe acid or fire or both. But normally I will throw a couple of pretty decent sized, hit pointed out, beefed up dragons to sort of lead the way to where the big bad dragon mountain eventually will be. But for the most part, whatever dragon is in my area, it's probably done away with or chased off most of the other dragons. So they're not going to run into a lot of different dragons, except in my one campaign where it's literally a dragon war. And in that particular campaign, they're more likely to run into a dragon than an orc. But otherwise, I try to keep them pretty limited. Man, some of you guys in the comments section tonight.
I gotta ask. You mentioned Dragon Mountain. Have you ever ran it?
I believe I have. Yeah, I have two. I have one copy of it and two copies of Council of Worms. So yeah, I kind of a dragon fan. Just
Okay.
saying.
We
Yeah,
got to the very end of book 1, and the party died because there was a porculi on the other side of the chasm where the bridge was, and there's a ballista. They open up Porculus, and there's a ballista right there, and I hit like a natural 20, and I made like double damage on the players. So only the paladin survived, and he decided to stop the quest against Dragon Mountain and bury his friends and leave because he wasn't ready for the dragon by himself.
no, nobody should be. The only people I think that should be are, of course, what, boys and girls?
Suicidal.
Paladin. No, paladins. Sorry, just St. George, all that sort of thing.
Glorified armor monkeys? Wait, paladins? Yeah, that's what I said.
I mean, my answer still applies.
Glorified armor monkeys? Yeah, mine still applies.
Yeah.
Gotta ask you, Shadow, did you ever play Baldur's Gate 1 or 2 on PC?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not on the PC though. I think it was I want to say the PlayStation or maybe the Cube. But yeah, I played it.
It's a different game on PC.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a completely different game. It
Oh.
spans a epic quest, and there's a bunch of NPCs that the game is meant to be played single player. It really is. You're supposed to play single player and bump into all the NPCs and give them your group, and then try to get these NPCs focused, because a lot of people are like, I just added the first NPCs I got. So you get like a neutral character, a good fighter, then you get like 2 evil sons of bitches, and you spend like the first 3 acts of the game trying to not let them all fight each other, because you have these incidents where like all of a sudden the computer realizes you have a paladin and 2 evil characters in your campaign. Let's have a narration challenge and have you try to figure this out, where you can either start a fight in the party, or you can try to be like, hey guys, let's just try to get along. Come on, we still have a lot of stuff to do. And you do that for about 20 hours of gameplay, not including all the various maps that you explore first and all the magic items you discover. And you need a bard. Get a bard, because bards can identify shit. And so, oh, look, it's a light blue item. Give it to the bard. What is it? Oh, okay, it's a wand of magic missile. Okay, it's an earring of protection. That goes on. This game is like, if you play just through one player character, you'll spend from Baldur's Gate 1 into the Tales of the Sword Coast for the expansion pack, into Baldur's Gate 2, into the Throne of Baal. On those 2 games alone, you should spend about 90 hours playing with the 2nd edition AD&D rules. And you meet a space hamster, but I won't go into that. But I'm telling you that I've had friends write for Brady Games, and they discovered all the various secrets and all the various Easter eggs in this game. Going over to their houses in the late 90s and early 2000s was, you know what you're going to get into. They're going to be in front of the computer. You just walk in their house. Ben, hey, Bruce, I'm upstairs playing Baldur's Gate. Okay. You go up there, and he's got like 5 or 6 notebooks full of notes. He's transcribing onto his laptop all the shit that's going on. He's bug finding. And this game ate up this guy's life. He probably got paid $10,000 over 3 years to do bugs and other shit hunting for BioWare. But if you like Baldur's Gate, you need to play this game on PC. Or it's on
getting time on a PC is a little difficult. I do have a teen son who's probably on his right now, laughing his ass off at us as we talk about dragons. I wanted to address this real quick because James L put up, don't dragons attract kobolds and dragonkind or kin servants? I imagine some would be solitary. Now, I don't know when it happened that kobolds went from being just little red kick-me dogs to something far different. and completely. Yeah, I'm watching.
In third edition, that's where kobolds made the switch from dogmen, little dogmen, to little yippy fucking scaly dragon folk.
Yeah, my kobolds are still little yippy dogmen, but I do have a couple of things that are similar. I'm not going to go much into it, but I usually use lizardmen in the place of kobolds, which to me just made sense back then, and I kind of ran with it. If you could show that on a bigger screen.
Jade, show that again, please.
And I use a couple other monsters. I can't see a damn thing.
Blow that up, Shadow. Can you increase him?
But he's got to do the thing, and then I can
do the thing.
Right.
Yeah. Let me get an image from my PDF pulled up real quick.
I kind of like the kobolds being little lizard-ish creature. They're kind of like Groot to me. They only say one word: XP, 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 XP. And you think
back in the day, it was the kobolds. Back in the day, were less than goblins, basically, and they were, kind of a big deal to help players get to second level. Instead of always just fighting giant rats and other, really minor threats. Obviously, they could still fight goblins and orcs, etc. But it was just one more thing to throw into the mix. And then later on, when they got a little tougher, then they could fight lizardmen, because lizardmen had 2 hit dice instead of 1, like orcs, goblins, and kobolds. Goblins and kobolds accidentally had 1 to 4 hit points each. So turning kobolds from 1 to 4 hit point, minor nuisances, all the way up to what I've been seeing lately, to me is just like I said, I just did it with lizardmen, and it made more sense. Let's see what Jade's going off.
The Dragon Spawn. 95 hit points for averages, +3 initiative, 40-foot speed, AC of 19, base attack is +10, grapples +25. Enjoy that, you lovely people. Bites are 2d6 +7.
Yeah, so I use these in place of the 3.5 kobold nonsense because, again, I'm using the Iron Kingdom's dragons. They have the Blighted, and that's what these are. These are dragon spawn, and this is just one sample of them. They have the breath weapon. They have certain abilities of their dragon heritage. So, I mean, these things are horrendous creatures.
Now, when you say spawn, do you mean like literally, as in they hatch them type of thing, or is it some sort of magical creation?
Well, I mean, there's, let's see here, the Blighted is an acquired template. So these are things that, well, okay, let me back up to these dragons properly.
You see what I'm saying? Because how does that happen?
Well, when
right
Mama
here.
Dragon gets pissed off at Daddy Dragon, she goes over to the neighbor's house.
Things that live in the Dragon Blight zone can warp into or be turned into dragon spawn. My
so
dragons,
the name is a little misleading.
Yeah. So they are turned by the mere presence of these epically dark things. Like I said, I don't use your standard D&D chromatic dragons because these things are the epitome of true destruction and vileness.
Godzilla dragon.
This thing would eat Godzilla for lunch. It wouldn't even bother spitting out the bones because of perfect digestion.
For a couple of people in the audience, but okay.
Yeah, no, these dragons would rip Godzilla apart. there is that, but I mean, these things are just true destruction, like with abilities like Death Dust. These things just exude destruction and death around them at all times. So instead of sending kobolds these are the dragon spawn are the emissaries of these things. They are the things that have been turned and controlled by these dragons to go forth and bring about the kind of like dragon cultists. These things bring about the will of these dark dragons. They have the blind sight, they've got the breath weapon, they've got damage reduction, spell resistance. They even have regeneration. Like, all of these dragons regen like 20 hit points per turn.
So nearly demigods, if not maybe a little more so.
Right.
And with enough followers and that worship energy being pumped into them, who knows what you would get.
They remind me of the before Max said it, they remind me of the Draconians from Dragonlance.
Yeah, that's what Max just said here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought that's what that's all what I thought the more or less the new Dragonborn or whatever, the new player character race I've heard about a little. I assume that's what they were, some sort of, that's what happens when a princess doesn't get rescued kind of deal.
That's what happens whenever a fucking fan fiction writer gets a chance to write for Wizards and ruins a goddamn game book. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Fuck Dragonborn.
Dragonborn. I back before Wizards of the Coast, there was something similar to Dragonborn or what have you. Maybe it's in my monster book. I haven't gone forward to look for it, but I could have swore there was a humanoid type of dragon, which is something I kind of use in my own games, but not quite the way they probably worked it. Let me see.
Hello, Omen Owl.
Hey, Omen, what's happening, bro? Yeah, no, they stop at Dragoni, whatever. Silly monster, if you ask me. But yeah,
like I said, that's what I use in place of the 3.5 current idea of using kobolds as minions for dragons. I don't need them. I've got the spawn, because of the area that's been blighted.
I kind of like that. It gives it a very good corruption feel, and
not only that, Go ahead, Bruce.
Go ahead,
I was just going to say it also gives them kind of a sort of Tolkien-esque Urukai sort of feel to them. The Urukai were so underused in the Tolkien books. They were one of the most terrifying thing in the entirety. Obviously, Smaug and the Balrog are up there, but the trolls weren't as scary as the Urukai, and that's exactly what the feel I'm getting from these things you're talking about there, Jade. Nice.
See, I like the corruption effect, and I think when you're running that as a player or as a DM at the table to your players, you want to announce that something's not quite right with nature. Like, you see what appears to be a minty tentacled squirrel. A whole nest of squirrels explodes out of a tree. And you see each of them has like a nest of tentacles popping out of their maw, where there would normally be some funny buck teeth. But instead, these Cthulhuid squirrels are jumping from branch to branch, and it gives you an unnerved feeling. And then you see other twisted bits of nature where, like, there might be a rabbit that's ripping apart a otter near a stream, and the rabbit's got like pieces of mange on its back of its fur. I think you want to have something like that and just scare the shit out of your players. Give them nightmares. Give your players enough nightmare fuel to where they tell you things like, hey, we really like your game, but the other night I was drinking some whiskey, and when I went to bed that night, I had a nightmare. I had a nightmare and a fucking post-traumatic stress syndrome episode because I woke up in the middle of the night thinking I was getting attacked by Cthulhu squirrels because you fucking did that in the game. And what was that? I mean, because like I don't want to have to deal with that again. Well, that's because of the dragon that's corrupting everything around where you're supposed to be at. But instead of you acting like a
Nico.
hero, you're acting like a goddamn Vietnam veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder, screaming, I have 80%, I need 100. I need 100% disability. Be a fucking hero, dude. I'm a terrible person.
That blighted zone goes miles, and it grows 1d4 plus 1. I'm sorry, it grows 1 mile per hit die every 1d4 plus 1 days. That's how big the blighted zones get.
Hey, Bo Paints has a good question after that.
Yeah, I was well, I want to leave each question up for the time at least it takes to read it. Yeah, if you have a monster that can eat Godzilla and ask for seconds, how does the party beat it in a fight? I'm guessing with a second version of the same monster that's somehow allied with them, like I don't know. I'm guessing a wish is involved.
Nicely. You ask the gods and a wizard very nicely.
I'm going to ask Bo Paints Minis. I'm going to ask him real quick if he is a dungeon master or if he is a player, and I'll give him time to respond.
He's also got a second comment. For the record, love the idea of a monster that the party can't beat. The Tarask is a little bit overrated for some situations. It's up to the DM to, if you're going to throw the Tarask out there, make sure that somebody wets their pants at the table. And of course, you've put down plastic previously.
I mean, these dragons are on par with the Tarask. In my opinion, I think the Tarask is overplayed by comparison. And how do you fight these things? Well, okay,
carefully.
Carefully. That's one way of putting it. These things are fought typically with armies or with siege weaponry. Like, that's how you fight them. You fight them with weapons that are bigger than you can carry. You lay traps. You lay the battlefield out the way you need to come out and almost succeed. There are going to be tight situations where you might wipe out a third, half, 90% of your entire army just to kill one of these things. Most of them are on par with what most people would consider demigods. So some of them can't be fought. Some of them have to be put to sleep with magic of some kind. You might have a cleric, wish for or cast a miracle for their god to get directly intercede and rip the soul out of the dragon or put it to sleep in some way. And then you put it in stasis and leave it for, couple 10, 12, 20 generations down the line to figure out how to kill it in its sleep. Some of these things you cannot fight. These are some, my dragons are, especially at early levels, are things you run away from. You don't fight them. They are there as foreshadowing of what is going to happen, typically.
Forces of nature.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite books that came out in the last 5 years is a book that you can buy for 5th edition or for Pathfinder. It has better rules for Pathfinder. And I'm not saying that's a slight against 5th edition, but 5th edition, it gets kind of vague. Pathfinder's biggest strength, 1st edition Pathfinder kids, is there's a rule for everything. And if you're confused, just go to DPSFF or whatever, the Pathfinder SRD.
D20PFSRD.com.
Yeah. Go there and you get your answers. And the reason why I'm talking about this book called Salt in Wounds.
Oh, God.
There is a booklet or book that's out where you are a character and this city is detailed. This city sprung up over the past 100 years after this Tarask woke up, and it was a Tarask with many templates on it. So, it wasn't a regular Tarask. It was the World Ender. And the players that were there before you used 13 enchanted artifact javelins to pin it against the side of a mountain And because it was leaching fluids and ruining the land around where it was bleeding to death but regenerating, a city sprung up around it. So you don't really have to kill a creature to encounter it. The players could literally just encounter the campaign centerpiece, the Tarrasque, multiple times throughout the campaign. And eventually, like, they might experience something where, like, the tail gets free of 2 of the javelins and it starts to just thrash about the ghetto and destroy numerous tenements and other undesirable locations where the players are at. And you don't have to really regulate that to just a Tarrasque. You could have the same type of fearful event happen in a city that thought they had pinned a dragon down, where they thought they had removed the charcoal and methane bladder from the throat so it couldn't burp up fire and belch it across the city buildings any further. You can run a game where you have a force of nature that has been momentarily subdued. And a campaign focus doesn't have to be that large piece of hit points that's there in the middle of the city. But that could definitely be one of the characters' high points whenever they go through their lives afterwards, after the campaign is long over, where they help save the city from a pinned down dragon or Tarrasque. And I do recommend, for those of you DMs out there that do love a big, nasty creature, to be a focus of an urban area. Salt in Wounds might be the campaign supplement you're looking for.
I think I've heard of it.
So
I've only mentioned it like 6 times in my game.
Yeah.
No, before I met you.
Okay.
there is lore on how to kill these dragons, and that lore is typically obscure. They actually have 4 categories: uncommon, or common, uncommon, rare, obscure. The obscure lore basically says to kill one of these dragons, you have to destroy its what's it called? Life stone. It basically kind of like a lich, to stop it from regenerating. But even so, it'll put it into a torpor state, a sleeping state. In so doing, the stone will eventually regenerate. So you'd have to destroy it utterly, probably with some kind of magic or disintegration of some kind, and that's just to put it to sleep. So you can't ever truly kill these things. Yeah, those are the dragons I like to run.
Hey, violence solves everything. He's like, yay, Iron Kingdoms, fuck you, 5e version.
Oh, yeah, sure. I don't know anything about the 5e version. I've got, again, the original 3.5 version of it.
Fair, the old edition needed a better editor than what it got.
I mean, that's fair. 3.5, 3.0 edition's editing was lackluster. So, anyway.
Glad you could make it. Glad your internet's working.
So, back on topic. My apologies.
Okay, let's move on to question number 4. Going to start with Connell, then it'll be your turn, smartass, and then Bruce. Okay, why are the players hunting the dragon or dragons? What did the dragon or dragons do?
I mean, it depends on the story I'm telling. If it's for kids, it's going to be, the dragon, ran off with the princess. The whole Mario Bowser Princess Peach story. Or if it's for the adults,
it's a classic.
Or if it's for adults, I might, beef it up. The unknown to the village, a dragon slept under a mountain for several years. Is now woke up and is causing mayhem amongst the villages. The king has put out a bounty for anybody who's willing to go and deal with the dragon to come forth. Sort of like an old storybooks scenario. And those are for the homebrew. If it's a scenario, maybe it just depends on the module and what the the scenario once. The reason why, maybe the dragon has information on a lich. There's 101 different reasons why a person go kill a dragon, or maybe they're hunting a good dragon for information. Not to hunt as in to kill, but hunt as to there's rumors about there being a gold dragon or a copper or silver, so forth and so on.
That'll play right into the next question. Cool.
That has information on a secret vault out there that has a tome that used to belong to some god. I mean, there's 100. Like I said, there's many different aspects you can use for a party to be looking or to hunt for a dragon. It doesn't always have to be to kill it outright. I think we should promote less murdering hobos and more, hey, let's stop and think about this.
Boy, what a
Well,
polite individual you are.
What?
Okay.
I'm just saying, like in my game, you're first to do the initiative. Oh, I got him. Target. I rolled a 37 to hit.
Well, your dragons are normally there to eat us and shit us out.
Mm-hmm. True.
So let me
Leslie, good to see you again, buddy.
So
Yeah,
why are the
why-
players hunting dragons? So if I have done my job as a game master correctly, I have laid out the clues and all the breadcrumbs for them to figure out that there are larger pieces at play than they have initially realized. They start hunting dragons, like truly hunting them. I'm using the true sense of the word hunt, not gather information, because they can gather information from dragons, left, right, and center. They just may not know that a good dragon has been polymorphed, to give them that information. So my sense of dragon hunting is they are going to go find the dragon to do something with it. Who knows what? But because I use because I use these ancient dragons from Iron Kingdoms, these like forces of absolute pure destruction, just their very presence blights the world. Do you need any other reason to hunt them and get them away? Their blight is literally a corrupting influence upon the world. So that is all the reason players should need to go remove them, because their hometown is now, in danger of, dying from, starvation. No plants, no plant life. The dragons spawn themselves. The cultists of the dragons are, wreaking havoc, bringing about the destruction. But no one ever, these dragons, no one's going to know their true end goal, because to know their true end goal, you would have to think like they do. And they're so alien to the way any mortal would think, because they're practically immortal. The way they move, the way they think, the plots of dragons are things that most mortals just cannot fathom. They might destroy this city, but they might not reap benefits of destroying that city for another 100 years. But they play the exceptionally long game. So to me, the reason why players should go hunt a dragon is, because they're one of the idiots who live in the valley the dragon has decided to take. And they either you go hunt the dragon to keep your home, or you leave and don't bother returning, because it won't be in any way, shape, or form the valley you left.
That's definitely a lot of food for thought. I'm going to have to steal some of those ideas one of these days. Unfortunately, my current campaign is a little bit more PG, but I absolutely never thought of it like that. Bruce, what say ye?
Well, the skeletal dragons, whenever that there was a book that came out. I want to answer this question real quick. There was a book that came out in like 1988 called Spellfire. And I made it my mission to find that book and read it. And I didn't realize it was going to be a hard book to get through because the author was not great at writing books. But the Skeletal Dragon that was in there, one of the big challenges that the young heroine faced, and she had like an innate ability with magic. She fights a Draco Lich, and that's one of the most iconic fights in second edition novelizations, which I thought it was actually a pretty good description, and the way she was able to overcome it was, of course, by coincidence, but she was able to beat it because she's a fucking hero. Excuse my French. And I thought that despite the failure of translating game rules into a narrative, despite that, it was actually a really good setup. And it made the campaigns that I ran later have a little bit more pizzazz, because Draco Lich should absolutely be a force of destruction that the players should not have a reasonable chance against in most cases. They really shouldn't. Yeah, Spellfire, and you think TSR's collectible card game? I'm sorry. No, I'm talking about the book.
That's what I thought as well.
It just goes to show how good their marketing was for the really crappy card game, and how they should have approached their novel marketing. Anyway,
so the question?
Go ahead with your question.
Oh, it was the same. Why are the players hunting the dragon or dragons? What did the dragon or dragons do?
Well, usually in a campaign, the dungeon master provides the agency for the dragons to be met out and eradicated or driven off, or to have them practice a more peaceful endeavor and not be such a calamity upon the environment. A lot of dragons don't realize what they are at first, but after some time and having their eyes open to the situation, they are capable of understanding they might not be the best thing in this mountain range. I thought I was doing some good, but apparently my presence here is causing a real issue amongst the lesser individuals like yourselves. I'm so sorry. But you would have a campaign where if the dragons were mindful of their effects on the world around them, you wouldn't really have so many metallic good dragons that automatically side with players upon first meeting. They would be there in the area. They would continue to feed when they need to be fed. But for the most part, you would have a campaign where the players would be discovering that the dragon that they're hunting in this area is a little bit misguided, and they need to spend some time with it and rehabilitate it before they can let it take flight and start hunting for actual bad creatures in the area. Whereas up until now, it was chewing on the farmers' cows and the pigs and everything else, making a real mess. And I think a campaign where you have a dragon in an area, you should have the environment, the ecology should be directly affected. And there's a lot of ways you could study for that. One way is in the old second edition days, there was the ecology of the blank in the old Dragon magazine. The ecology of the blank was they would look at a serious deep dive of a monster from the Monsters Compendium, and they would tell you what the area would be like when one of these apex predators was in the area. And it would be up to you as a DM to interpret that to your players for game time, to where they would pretend themselves to be another character, to be a character that was in their prime, and that sort of thing, to where they would actually have a feasible chance of either rationalizing with a dragon, please find another area to poach in, or to track a dragon down and actually do harm to it, to render it unable to infect the environment the way it has previously. And I think that's kind of important. You need to have those clues out there. You need to state those things. Hello?
I'm really surprised that none of you actually thought of what my reason was, which is good old-fashioned revenge. Nothing makes a dragon hunt more memorable than that cold-hearted emotion of a revenge. I will find a way to have the dragon murder someone that they care about, whether it's a player character or not. From a fly by breath weapon attack, and leave one of one of the party scorched to ash, or a subsequent dragon attack on their favorite kingdom or village or town, destroys a large number of people that they cared about, whether it's the tavern keeper and his family, or the blacksmith, or even the king, queen, maybe some fair maiden that they were wooing, or something like that. But I find that good old-fashioned revenge keeps them on that trail, and gives a sort of a fairness and a bit of closure when the dragon is, let's assume, finally slain. It gives them a sense of justice, and that now things are right, now things are even and squared with the universe. The evil monster has been banished to the the nine hells or what have you, and rightly so. Although sometimes I will also throw in, or instead of, I will use the MacGuffin that the dragon holds said magic item, artifact, or some sort of item that the players need, and they're going for that. And maybe that it'll give them the opportunity to maybe work a deal, a trade, or something, instead of having to just go in and murder hobo the dragon. Especially if it's one of the gold or neutral type dragons. But for the most part, I stick with what I know, and that's revenge. So let's move on. And Bruce, I'm going to start again this time with you, because you just kind of summed up a big portion of what part do good dragons play in your campaign, if any.
Well, I think the good dragons provide a balancing point. If the players weren't there, the good dragons might be the only savior that the surrounding environment has. And you might have no other way for the players to have a escape element in game, to where if you have a few good dragons in the area, maybe as the players getting their asses kicked and you realize, like, as a dungeon master, you've made a very fine battle here. However, your players' die rolls are ensuring that they're going to die in about 2 rounds. You have 2 rounds to fix this. And so you could have them kind of come to the player's aid. And instead of giving, I just heard you were in the area and I came over here and I wanted to make sure things were okay. I realized you were in battle with a wretched individual, so I helped you subdue them. And here's your experience points for being a loser. But I think that occasionally you need to have a NPC available to save the player's bacon, because you really don't want to spend the next 6 to 10 hours rolling up characters. And as much as I enjoy rolling up character time, my players do not. They lose their way. They start talking about other things. I'm going to go play Call of Duty, or I'm going to go play Candy Crush, or I'm going to go drink a beer because I was expecting a fun game, but you killed my fucking character and my fucking cohort, and you cheating bastard. I rolled a 1. I can't help it, man. But that's not an instant death, is it? Yeah, actually it is.
Right, though.
But the thing is that a good dragon in the area can provide some form of reassurance that the players do have friends in weird places. Either they're a sage, or there could be an oracle, or they're actually just like a secret, I want to be a Jan Michael Vincent badass from the 1970s and save the players bacon and make sure they don't die. Maybe they just want to do that. And then after they save the players' butts, they're like, all right, guys, I saved you. And by the way, if you find a magical sword, Holy Avenger +5. Don't give it to your paladin, give it to me because I have a lair and I need magic items for me to get my next level up. Thank you. And you could totally do that and derail your players on their quest for acquisition of cooler magic items. What they had, like, hey, as a dragon, I did save your ass, and I really think that I'm owed everything you get for the next 3 hauls you do. And you could do that. You really could. But a good dragon should provide the DM with another tool in the toolbox. Be it, I need a sage, or I need an oracle, or I need a paladin-like character to accompany the players on this adventure. And so you NPC the dragon with them, and you let one of the other players don't control the fucking dragon. Let the players control the dragon. Let the players roll damage. Let the players have that fun. But if you're giving them a really big bad MF mission, you need to give the players the ability to experience that capacity for tactical superiority. Don't rob them of it by saying, well, I'll NPC the dragon for you. Or I'll NPC the dragon paladin, the dragon cleric, whatever the dragon is class-wise. Let the players do that. Let the players have the information he is as a player character, give it all their special abilities, all their stuff. That way the players feel like they're the ones in control. They're not. You are. You're the dungeon master. But you give them another way for them to experience the game, even if it's not, quote unquote, their character. They're really just having a character with his own agenda under their control for the moment until it's time for that agenda to supersede what the players want. All right, thanks, guys. I'm taking a sabbatical. I just found like these 17,000 platinum pieces. I know you're going to use them to level up your characters and get some nice new items, but I really need these. Thank you. And to help out Grim, Paizo, and WizKids are in cahoots. This is a green dragon miniature from about 2 or 3 years ago.
I got that one.
Does that answer your question, Shadow?
Yes, I wanted to add a little bit to it.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure how I feel with letting them play the dragon, because it's going to show them that, yes, this dragon is just way more badass than the players in all likelihood. And I'd like to keep that down to a minimum. They don't need to know. This way I can miss if necessary, or do something that's only partially helpful. I don't want to steal the thunder from them with a sheet of paper, if you know what I mean. But I do have my own ways of handling the good dragons. But I just wanted to add that in because I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I've never thought of it. But at the same time, as soon as I did, I'm like conflicted. So like, give me a minute while Jade then Connell answers the question and see if I can muddle through this. So Jade.
Which question are we on? The good dragons?
Yes.
Oh man, so I kind of said it at the top of the show. I have in my homebrewed world an entire island. It kind of resembles. I took a lot of inspiration from Legend of the Five Rings to make the island, but the island is run by dragons. Like the entire archipelago of islands are run by the dragons, and they all pay heed to the king, which is a platinum dragon, or he's a platinum dragon, son of Bahamut. So my good dragons, if I run it the right way, my players only find out that they are a dragon when the right time happens. And that right time is a moment of tension, typically, where they're beset upon suddenly by an enemy dragon. And that enemy dragon is, they know that that the party is working for one of these good dragons. So that dragon's going to spring an attack after tailing the PCs back to their master, so to say. And then they will realize, oh, we're working for a gold dragon. Like, they just transformed in front of us to save our collective butts from this evil dragon who we've been basically harrying and working against, their entire plots and plans in without realizing exactly what we were doing. Because again, dragons move. The good dragons and evil dragons will move parties and player characters or NPCs like pieces on a chessboard. Only they're not just moving kings and queens. No, they're moving entire nations worth of pawns. Because they play the grand game between dragons. They have their plans, their plots, their schemes to vie for power, sometimes for ascension. Some dragons play the game, to prove to their dragon gods that they are worthy of ascension. So when my players encounter good dragons, it's likely that they are working for the good dragon and not realizing it until, again, much later. So that's typically how I run my good dragons. They're kind of like the shadow ops, the shadow core behind, and the reason behind a lot of the actions that happen in the game.
I like that. Connell?
Well, for good dragons, I really just stick with Max. Max is my Jewish dragon, per se. He is, in older editions, for a dragon to ascend to be a god, it had to get a horde of X size. And once it gets to X size, it swallows its horde and it becomes a god. Yes, I got this from Jay.
I know where you got that. Yeah.
I thought this was such a great deal. Yoink. So, Max, Maxwell, is his full Maxwell Airgild.
Is he a silver dragon?
Yes, he is.
Oh, Jesus. Friggin' Beatles fans. Can't get rid of you guys. Like cockroaches.
I don't even like the Beatles. Just get Silver and Gaelic is Airgild or something like that. Anyways, so I went along with that. So he owns the traveling magic shop. For the most part, the magic shop in my world, any world I run, I should say, magic shops only assist in metropolises, major cities, because little towns, villages, they can't afford it. It's not going to happen. Max will sometimes be rolling around in a wagon, a cart, selling his wares. And so he helps the party by not giving them what they need, but giving them what they need. Because I do still use a D100 roll to see if he has items. He's like, how many? Do you have heal potions? I think I do. They might be somewhere in the back, high or low. Do you have a this? I don't know. Let's go check, high or low. So I'm not giving my party weapons. I mean, I am giving my party if they find it in treasure, but I'm not willing. I'm giving it as there's always a chance that he might not have it. So far, Max is the only good dragon I really run with. I'm actually technically playing him now in a Dragon's Heist campaign. The DM is the only person who knows. So yeah,
not anymore.
Well, no one in that campaign watches the show because, well, we use foul language.
What the fuck you say?
What?
For me, when it comes to the good dragons, I've done everything previously mentioned, other than I think one thing. I will occasionally have them come in as the cavalry if it's getting just too ugly, and I feel the players have earned the right for for a little bit of divine intervention, so to speak, on maybe 3 different occasions I've done so where either an NPC in the party was, like we've said before, really a dragon in disguise, or if I will, as in one case, I literally have a silver dragon, I think it was, come in and in dragon form help the party out. But for the most part, I usually use them as sages or advisors in some fashion, obviously in disguise, giving the players clues as to, whatever their overall arcing quest is. So on to the last question for the night. I think we can squeak through it. We are going to run a little over the 8 o'clock mark, but we started a little late. So starting with you, Connell, since you had the quickest answer last time, what are the dragon's motivations or goals? And I do mean the bad guy dragon. I think we kind of covered the good dragons under this,
Last
umbrella.
one, definitely, I covered Max's. Just depends. I mean, really depends. What if if I'm doing a campaign where the dragons want to bring back Tiamat because she is lingering in one of the layers of hell, or is it the abyss? It doesn't matter. She's somewhere she doesn't want to be. The abyss. So sometimes that will be their motive. Sometimes they just are greedy dragons. Sometimes they just want more in their collection. Sometimes they want a wife. I have ran that one where they kidnap a blue dragon, no, not blue dragon, a red dragon kidnapped a princess to have hatchlings with her. Because according to 3.5 in Pathfinder, I don't know with 5e. If it doesn't work that way in 5e, I just ignore it anyways. But dragons can damn near breed with anything.
That's nasty.
Yeah, I mean, that's 3.5 for you.
Yeah, so
that's what I meant, not the dragon part.
So sometimes they'll steal like a princess or somebody to, maybe have hatchlings with. So it does vary on what kind of campaign I'm running. I have actually in my Tuesday campaign where I'm running for the Amazon party, they are hunting what was it? It's a green dragon that is trying to. It's been going around defiling Diana, the goddess Diana's temples. Its motive is if it's looking for an artifact to bring a god down. So that's what I'm using for my Tuesdays.
Cool. Jade?
So as far as motives go, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. The motives of dragons, when it comes to players, they should not be able to understand the motives of the dragons because, again, the dragons are playing the long game. They'll take actions that might take 100, 200, 300 years to come to fruition. They might move a piece on their board to destroy a kingdom. Because they destroyed the kingdom, that kingdom will either A, rebuild, repopulate, and become more powerful, or they might seed the idea of, oh, hey, I'm going to, destroy that kingdom. When they rebuild, they're going to be thinking of me when they rebuild. So they're going to come up with some kind of method of destroying my kind, dragon kind. I can use that against my enemies by going in and taking it later. They might, oh, hey, that really advanced civilization over there, they, learned how to split the atom. Well, you know what? I'm going to take their technology and I'm going to use it against, my mortal enemy. Why not at that point? I mean, why not? Because dragons, again, they think the long game. They live the long game. So if they see a civilization that's, making laser weapons and atom bombs, why wouldn't they employ those against their enemies, against their actual mortal enemies. Other dragons who can vie for power and kill them. So some of my dragons think in the direction of, how do I continue to exist with others of my kind who are trying to murder me on a regular basis? So it is a grand game of survival. It's a grand game of power. It's a lot of pieces moving on the board that players they can't see because they are too close to what is happening to see the big picture. So my dragons, my players will almost never know the end goal of my dragons. They're just incapable of fathoming that large of a scale project. But as far as what are their motivations and goals, they might be trying to have an apotheosis. If I can speak today, apotheosis event where they ascend to godhood. So it's all that grand game that only dragons can see, because again, they live the longest. So I hope that satisfies the answer. My bigger...
actually, I didn't think about it like that, as you'll see when I come to my answer, but I like that. And there's an aspect of that I will use when I give my answer.
Now,
Bruce.
Now I will say. Oh,
okay. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I will say my ancient dragons, the Blighterghast, the Karsog, the Iron Kingdom dragons that I use, their goals are even more mysterious to even reds and golds and silvers. Like the metallic and chromatic dragons have no idea and cannot fathom the ancient dragons, the original true dragons' motives and methods, because those dragons are ancient beings. They were around during the creation of the heavens and gods. They are basically gods themselves, who, now this is my homebrew world, my homebrew setting using these dragons. Those dragons killed their creator deity to take the power of their creator deity and split it apart before reality started to unravel. They were separating the power so that their reality would not self-implode and destruct. That was their original goal. Now, my players will never know that. The dragons, like reds and golds and whatnot, they cannot ever know that because it happened so far in the distant past. It would be unfathomable for them to even conceive of that kind of action. So my big, evil, horrid dragons were corrupted by what they did. That is why they are what they are.
Nice. Bruce?
What was your question?
What are the... No worries. What are the dragon or dragon's motivations or goals?
For me, for my characters, when they encounter a dragon in my game, 99.99999% of the time, that dragon is not there for the player's betterment. He's there to grow and to acquire knowledge and magical spell capacity. Earn enough gold to where he can say, I'm going to take the next 5 years off and take a giant nap. I'm just going to sleep here happily for half a decade, but I need to get some things done first. Oh, and by the way, I might want to destroy that marauding group of bandits that seems to murder hobo everything they encounter. My fucking kobold clan that I had worshiping me just got axed by them, so I expect them to come next. So the dragons are there in the world to acquire stuff, and they're not there to just be found sleeping peaceably in their lairs. They're there to pop out at some point a conversation where they can say something like, hey, if you guys don't give over all of your magic items right now, then I'm going to kill all of you. But if you give me all your magic items, I'll let you all go. I'll even give you the teleport wherever you want to go. How's that sound? You can go wherever you want. You're just going to be buck-ass naked. Consider it a teleport of shame. And you do that. You do that because that's what a dragon would do. And a big ass blue dragon in Pathfinder would belch out lightning. So there goes half or 3/4 of the party's hit points are there. Ah! But that lightning sticks around for like 6 or 7 rounds as a giant lightning ball, just frying the entire group. And he's like, all you've got to do is say we surrender, we give in, and I will give you your teleport the hell out of here. I'll even give you a teleport for your friends who are now considered ashes. How's that sound? And maybe before
Sounds like a raw deal with no Vaseline to me.
Maybe before the party leaves, the dragon looks at the one with the highest charisma that's still alive. He grabs him by the shoulders and he does a deep sniff, like a certain president. So, because that's, you got to be a creepy son of a bitch when you do this shit too. Anyway,
you said blue.
I don't remember reading that, but okay.
I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this. I thought it was a blue dragon, not an orange dragon.
It was a blue dragon.
No, I meant the creepy part.
Oh, that's what I was talking about.
Okay. So for my answer, it's pretty simple. I'm kind of surprised nobody else brought it up, but it's the oldie but a goodie, the world domination, of course.
No.
That is my ultimate goal of the biggest, the baddest dragon. It may take 1,000 years, but that is, dragons have dreams. During those long ass naps, they're dreaming of world domination or princesses. That's me. And sometimes revenge.
There is no such thing as a dragon requiring world domination. There's no such thing for it. A dragon trying to dominate the world and steer the world between sleep cycles is absolute folly. There might be a day where the dragon says, I'm only going to sleep for 6 years. And then he wakes up 2 generations later and all of his boobs are dead. They forgot their purpose and they've ruined his volcanic lair. What would you do? Why would you do that? Ah!
That was fucking awesome, Bruce. Well, we made it through the first 6. I'm pretty satisfied. For those of you watching out there in TV land, the next 6 are a little bit more exciting, dealing mostly with, good old-fashioned combat, mayhem, death, destruction, that sort of thing. And, of course, the best thing of all, treasure. So before we head out for the evening, I want to give everybody a chance to give their channel a little bit of a shout out and let us know what you guys have planned. Connell, take it away.
All right. Well, today being Wednesday, you'll find me tomorrow on Table Breakers with, these fine gentlemen while we're talking about the fine art of war. Then on Friday, there's a good chance you'll most likely see me hanging out with Max talking about shenanigans and most likely pissing somebody off. I'm pretty good at that, I've been told. Not this Saturday. I got nothing going on this Saturday other than hanging out with you, Shadow, for Shadow Chat in theory, and talking about aliens and Bigfoots and why didn't that girl hang out with me when I was 15? Whatever. Then Sunday, you, Jack, and maybe Mark if he shows back up, which I hope that he does.
I'm pretty sure he will.
Yeah, me too.
I hope so.
We'll be talking about the 1980-something Conan the Barbarian, the movie that started it all. Well, all the headaches. That's what I got going on this week.
That is a very fine movie. It has a wonderful score. You will have yourself a fantastic time, and then you'll realize that wild dogs are meant to be experience points, not pets.
Yeah, so I've been coming out with a new episode every Sunday so far. The last one released was part 3 of Beneath the Door, a cosmic horror one-shot in the rules of Index Card RPG. I just had my group record on Saturday. Unfortunately, I'm an idiot, and my recording software failed, and I didn't get any of the recording. So I'm going to have to run that scenario with a different group and record their reactions to it. So this week, I'm planning on something a little bit of a break from the Beneath the Door series. I know it's we're almost halfway through it. But I'm considering releasing more game mastery content. So look forward to that. If I end up failing to record that, I will probably release Beneath the Door Part 4.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Bruce?
Well, being that I just hit 1,000 subscribers, I intend to keep that above 1,000 subscribers. That's the goal. So I'm going to need everybody's help here. And I know that sounds really weird. If you guys could do me a favor and not only subscribe to me, but subscribe to all these fine gentlemen that are here. And don't be afraid of commenting on the videos. I know that sounds really weird. I'm not asking for a like. You can like my stuff. You can. You really don't have to. What I want is engagement. If I suck, if I'm shit, if I have horrible takes, then you need to let me know, Bruce. Really, dude, this is what you did. Were you stoned when you made this video? And hit me in the honesty. Go ahead. Go for below the belt on that jab. I want you guys to be honest. I'll be honest with you whenever it's your time to make videos, I promise. I'm not being like punt for punt, but I do want you guys to interact. Whenever you see someone from like Jade has got a almost brand new channel, and I'm one of the few people that, oh look, he's got a new video up, I better put that on my immediate playlist. And that night I try to listen to it, and I try to interact. I can't be the only guy in the comments. Please help me out. And do the same for Shadow. Even though Shadow's getting up to around 400 subscribers, come on guys, don't lose steam. Continue to share his stuff if it's good. That's all I'm asking. If people have good content, other guys that think like you, other people that think as you do, would probably enjoy it. So don't be afraid to share it. And if you guys are losing subscribers, quickly churn out a video as to why Spelljammer 5th edition sucks. It's pretty easily you can figure it out why, but I want you to go out there and get yourself some new subscribers. You can go do it really easy. This is like the 2017 let's bash on the Last Jedi. Come on. You guys can do it. I have faith in you. I want you to make content. That's every one of you. Cal, Iron Man, Shadow and Sun, the Multi-Gun Man. I know the Multi-Gun Man doesn't make content, but I want you guys to do it. Please. You don't even have to try that hard. This is like taking candy from a baby. So interact with your favorite video YouTubers, get in their comments, start a war. Tell them, like, I'm just here to talk shit. I really like this content, but I think we'll get more interaction if I dog the hell out of you. And go at it. Say you're a spider monkey. Bonus points if you recognize where that's from. Okay. Saving the hatred for Planescape and Dragonlance? Oh, no. Shadowrun gets the majority of my hatred, but Spelljammer 5e, right now that's in the number 2 spot for my TTRPG hatreds. Because how can you have a fucking Spelljammer campaign book without having the rules for making your Spelljammer go around the goddamn planets and primal spheres? How the fuck do you do this? How do you skip out on why the astral spheres are such a fucking rare place to be? Instead, you're supposed to be in the Phlostagon, in those entirely flammable areas where, oh, wait, you lit a candle while you're on deck? Yeah, everybody's saved versus fire. Instant Timmy just fucked up. Guys, if you need to make content, you want to get some quick likes, go beat up on Spelljammer 5e. I'm telling you, this is going to be the easiest way for you to rake in some quick subscribers, and you're going to have some fun doing it because this thing's a pile of wank, okay? This is like Bantha wank. This is like the worst fucking special effects since the She-Hulk. It's horrible. Enjoy yourselves. Okay, I'll shut up now.
All right, that's awesome, guys. My day is spent mostly by watching you guys and a few other YouTubers out there when I'm, doing whatever I'm doing. I don't use the TV or well, actually, I started watching Blake 7 thanks to James L, and I'm digging that. But normally, YouTube is my TV or my music. But I know. But so is my free subscription to BritBox. So
have you?
I got 7 days. I got 7 days to watch all 4 seasons, and then get as much Red Dwarf in as I can before I tell them thanks, but no thanks. But for me and the little guy, we've got a video on just about every night except Monday, I think. So you guys know where to find us. You're already here. Just stay tuned. We'll have some good stuff for you. Anything else before we leave? You guys want to drop in, because I think we did a little over 2 hours, but hopefully Max won't kill us for it.
Well, I mean, if Max is paying us, I would worry about it, but he's not yet. What I do want to say is that for those of you guys that have the opportunity to do so, we have a weekend coming up. If you have the chance to gather your friends, people you care about, individuals that you enjoy spending time with, and these can be family too. They don't have to be just friends. They could be blood relatives. Sit down and play a good tabletop RPG with them. Run one of your favorite modules, or start the campaign that you've always wanted to, because there's no better time than the present to start making great memories. And I want you to do that because you might not have next week. There might be something horrible that happens, and all you have is maybe 12 hours of a campaign that you and your friends will be able to remember the rest of your lives and be like, man, I wish we could get back in the garage and run through the Keep on the Borderlands, your Murderous Edition for your DCC game, or whatever you might want to run. There's no better joy than being able to play a game with people you care for. And far too few of us actually get a chance to do that. So I'm going to tell you guys, start putting yourselves out there. Put yourselves out in the recruiting channels on your favorite Discords. Start looking for your groups. Start gathering your party so you can adventure forth. And enjoy yourselves. That's the most important part of this. Bruce out.
Absolutely. And like we always say here on the Shadow and Sun show, play the games you love with the people you love, and everything's going to be right with the world for you. So want to thank everybody again for showing up, hanging out with us. We'll be back again next Wednesday for part 2 of this discussion. Hopefully everybody will be able to make it back. And if we have a few extras, if Kai or Baron out there in TV land want to jump in, we missed you tonight, and hope you guys are doing well, and hope we'll see you guys real soon. We're going to sign off now. Let's say goodnight to everybody. Have a great weekend. We love you guys. Take care.
Indeed.